we're talking about the most important thing as it pertains to growing or keeping the current level of success you have in your law firm. And that is cash flow management. And cash flow management actually isn't cash flow management. It's a byproduct of proper financial management. I want to first start with some quick, rapid fire things you can immediately do in your firm to bring you financial clarity. So I'm going to start right now with this immediate list for you. First, if you are in an hourly fee-based practice, the first thing is to cure accounts receivable, okay? Cure accounts receivable. So we've had many, many firms that are in our coaching program that have successfully done this in just 3 months, really. All it requires is for you to set a quarterly goal. If you have a lot of outstanding bills, set a quarterly goal around accounts receivable, and then change your billing practices so that you can receive cash upfront. Number 2 is start thinking about getting into what's called a recurring revenue shift. I know this sounds crazy to you, okay? Revenue volatility is a risk. Revenue volatility is a risk in any business, right? So PI has the highest revenue volatility, right? Lowest revenue volatility would be something that's super low ticket and predictable in a firm. So for example, like business law firms will put people on a monthly retainer, right? That would be low revenue volatility. High revenue volatility would be PI. The first thing to own based on where you're at in your firm is, am I in a high revenue volatility practice or am I in a low revenue volatility practice, okay? If you are in a high revenue volatility practice, there's 2 solutions, okay? The first solution, if you're in a high revenue volatility practice, is what I call calculations, right? So for example, knowing your numbers, like when you're going to collect money so that it's more of a science to you than an art, is one of the biggest stress relievers if you have some form of revenue volatility. So for example, in personal injury, a lot of the reason that law firms don't scale in personal injury, for example, is they'll land a huge case, right? And then they'll sit on the profits for that case because they're not sure about their current case inventory panning out, right, in the future, because they don't have numbers tied to their current case inventory that has not settled yet. Does this make sense? Yes? So it doesn't allow you to be courageous with your investments if you're not if you can't understand your future cash flows. What is investing, as Warren Buffett says? The real answer is trading current cash for future cash flows at a discounted rate. That is what investing is. If that is investing, then we have to have predictability around future cash flows, okay? Future cash flows, I'm not talking from a marketing perspective. I'm talking about from the intrinsic value of your average case. Is everyone following me? The intrinsic value of your average case. Now, after we have your average case calculated, then we can start breaking down by different case cohorts, right? So you'll have different categories of family law case that you know are going to predictably result in either a higher level of revenue or a lower level of revenue. One quick tidbit I want to give everyone is like high revenue cases don't mean they're high profit, and vice versa. Low revenue cases do not mean that they're low profit. Does that make sense? Low revenue cases does not mean it's low profit. Like for example, in criminal defense, there's a lot of lawyers that love getting DUI cases, right? Because they're more scalable in and out the door. They may have a lower average case value than a crazy long drawn out like federal criminal defense case, right? Or some crazy long-winded case. But the revenue is more predictable and it's higher margin, right? Per unit of time put in. So one of the worst things you could ever do is just focus on high profit cases once you start calculating this, because if it's high profit, high headache, that's just going to be a pain in the butt for you. Does this make sense to everyone? Okay. High profit, high headache. We probably don't want that unless we want to build a practice around that, right? So there's margin in mystery, my friends. I'll say this again. There's margin in mystery if you're taking notes, okay? So if you can scale something that is historically unscalable, you can build a multi-million-dollar subset of your practice. If you can scale something that is what seems on the surface unscalable, you can build a multi-million-dollar profit stream within your current practice. In every major market, I've found there's one or two really big multi-hundred-million-dollar catastrophic PI outfits, right? They really know how to litigate everything. They have doctors on staff and lawyers on staff, right? They have went into something that on the surface, catastrophic med mal, seems extremely unscalable, really, really long case timelines as to when you're going to receive money. But they went into that with calculus. You see where I'm going with this? They went into that with a calculated investor-based approach and went, yeah, but wait, if we invest X in medical experts, if we invest X in this, we know our cash conversion cycle, this is a finance term, our cash conversion cycle on cases of X nature means when we're going to collect revenue is X. And then we can discount that like an investor would. This is the key. If you want to be an investor, you have to act and feel like an investor. If you want to be an investor, you have to act, feel, and think like an investor. So that means if you sign, for example, 15 nursing home abuse cases, and you know those nursing home abuse cases are not going to pay out for X time period, and you know that the average yearly revenue, if it takes 2 years to settle one of those cases, let's say, is X, and then we know that the average monthly revenue is Y, right? We should be able to operate, and we know that some of the cases are going to leave our firm and sign up with another firm. We know some of them aren't going to settle, and we actually have a percentage tied to the nursing home abuse case cohort, right? We can have a calculus. We can have something pre-calculated so that every time we land a case that we know is going to turn into cash 18 to 24 months down the line at X average case with an 80%, let's say there's a 20% slippage rate. It's 20% we won't collect on or 20% won't settle. We can have one formula per case type. So we have to operate as though we are investors. Those of you who are in the coaching program, wait till you see the insights I've had on this trip. Like I've literally just been detached, taking a step back and looking at everything as math and passion. What are the math equations that I have to conquer? And what are the passion projects I need to conquer? But the math is the fuel for the passion, right? So we can't skip this part. So I want everyone to make the commitment to yourself, okay? I am going to be an investor and a lawyer. The solution to curing a bad belief that you have that's holding you back in your practice is just replacing it with a quality question. That's all. Right? So if you have any by the way, bad beliefs will materialize in bad business pieces. Your bad beliefs will materialize in bad pieces of your business or your law firm. Okay? So any piece of your law firm that's repeatedly bad or not growing, in your opinion, is usually going to be accompanied by your personal belief system creating that as a truth. And the way that we gently overcome bad beliefs is through asking higher quality questions. And I just gave you a higher quality question. Higher quality question is, if I had to create a recurring revenue business where I get a predictable dollar amount every single month, how would I? Businesses are valued at a way higher rate if there is recurring revenue and revenue predictability rather than volatility. Okay. Time on desk is the third quick fix. Okay. Time on desk is the third quick fix. Time on desk is how much time is wasted on the operations of your cases, right? Once you start getting a large caseload, an active caseload that's larger than you're used to, I should say, it's easy because most law firms are high margin. We said this in our emails. It's easy because law firms are higher margin to kind of tolerate mediocre case operations performance. It's easier to because you're not going to die, right? If you're at 40% profit margins or 30% profit margins, why would you go and make your case management operations more efficient if you don't need to? It's not a survival need, right? This is why you need to find a motivating force that's way beyond money, because most of the people listening to me right now, you're doing fine on money. If you had to get another 10% profit margin only through, these are all quality questions I'm just lobbing up to you right now. Hopefully one of them sticks. if you had to increase your profit margins of your practice by 10%, and the only thing you could change was how efficient your handling of cases were, if you had to, what would be the top 2 or 3 things you would immediately fix this week that would require very limited effort? If I had to, because that's going to reduce time on desk. Okay, time on desk is usually a sign of either you're letting bad cases in the door, A, or B, you're not handling the cases you already have, which could be good cases, in the most efficient manner. Okay. Okay. The last tip I want to give you here is system or profit driven firm. Are you a system or profit driven firm? It can only be one. Now, you can have sections of your business, but hear me out on this, okay? We have someone that we've worked with for quite some time, Derek Martin, and he does traffic tickets, okay? His average case value is $800. He does traffic tickets. He built a multi-million-dollar practice just doing traffic tickets. Is a practice that has an average case value of $800 more or less likely to be a systems-driven firm? The pieces of your firm that have a lower average case value require systems to work. The solution, if you are not a systems-driven firm, the solution is to only take higher margin cases until you can buy what I call buy operational efficiency. What does that mean? Hire someone who's really good at systems, okay? Okay, think about this. You can buy a higher quality case management software. You could buy a higher quality CRM. You could hire a consultant, an implementer to roll this out for you in your firm. Does everyone follow me here? If you're not a systems-driven firm now and things are more, they're not done in a predictable, streamlined manner, that's okay. No big deal. Let me tell you something that is true. You will not become systems-driven overnight. It's the hardest thing is to make a system shift in a firm because it's culture. This is why most times you've created systems or you've documented how you do things and then they don't get done. That's a culture problem, not a system problem. A systems culture is way more valuable than just documenting a system. And if you document a system and you don't hire someone and actually relinquish control and give them authority and responsibility, the system's not going to get done. Maybe it will get done by you, right? But who's the best person at breaking their own rules? You, right? Entrepreneurs. So the system's not going to get done if it's just you doing it or if you're not actually giving up control for that system, right? So the last quick tip, okay, is own. Am I a systems-driven firm or am I a profit-driven firm? If you're a profit-driven firm right now, meaning you don't have the systems in place, I would actually tell you don't build systems out. Get a huge. This is the second tip I'm going to bring you through. Getting cash rich, right? Get super cash rich so that you can plow cash into building your systems, right? Because if you have gotten to where you're at right now and you're not a systems-driven firm, it ain't changing unless you throw money at it. If it's been 10 years in your firm and your system's still aren't in check, dude, move on. You got to plow money at it, okay? And until you have a ton of cash to plow money on it, don't become a systems firm. That's kind of one of the big ahas I think here.